Viljar, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Man, oh man, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate you hopping on here, man. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Man, so I gotta say, a friend of mine, Adam, actually posted on here the poster for Good Boy, and this was my introduction to this, and I was not ready for this. What a story! What a movie! Absolutely solid. So first and foremost, congratulations on a wild ass movie that I've been recommending to all my friends for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
As far as having the opportunity today, I just kind of wanted to dig into some things earlier on, as far as personal interests and how you got into film, and then working our way into Good Boy. But first and foremost, starting with earlier developments of interest in film or TV. Where does that start for you, as far as your love for this craft?
It started very early on. I think I was lucky to um, see the change from VHS to DVD. So I
Oh,
remember
beautiful.
my first introduction I can remember is actually we had Sleeping Beauty on VHS, and I remember
Okay.
watching the dragon scene. I thought that was
Okay.
really cool. So I watched that over and over, and then we were going to get like a bigger screen and a DVD player. I saw Star Wars: The Phantom Menace playing on like
Oh man.
display. And that was like my first first introduction to like proper quality, or at least at that
Okay.
point, and then introduction to CGI. So it was kind of mind
Okay.
blown. I didn't really understand it was fake at that point. So yeah, so that technically, Sleeping Beauty and Star Wars were kind of like my first introductions.
Oh man, I love that. And so fun. I love that you bring up too, being able to have that opportunity of like VHS, and
Mm.
it's still fun as far as streaming and those things too. But for people to be able to reminisce on times of local video shops or anything like that. Does that I mean, does that relate to you as far as like going in and renting movies, or was there like a special movie theater local to you that holds close memory?
Absolutely. We had something called a mix, which was kind of like a mix between like a 7-Eleven, but also was like a video store where you could rent
Oh,
films
okay.
and also buy films. So yeah, I definitely remember I had like a kind of like a blockbuster type thing
Okay.
where yeah, where we would rent movies all the time. I guess that's kind of like where we lost a little bit with streaming. But I like that the access is much more like that. Films are much more available. I think it helped the Good Boy especially.
Mm,
But there's something about deciding on one film and then renting it, and
mm.
then deciding that that's the film we're going to watch. I think
Yeah.
it's daunting with all the there's too many choices to be made with the films now. You can sit there for hours just deciding on a film.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even along with that, though, I think the beautiful thing, even still today, like I mentioned, my buddy Adam, he plays in a band. He plays drums for a band called Stick to Your Guns, which is like a bigger traveling national metal hardcore act. And he had posted the poster for Good Boy, and I'm like, "What the fuck is this?" And he was like, "Oh man, don't look anything into it. Just watch it and let me know what you think." And I was sold. I'm like, "Hell yeah, dude, absolutely." So like, it's still, even though not so much having the rental or having that aspect, a movie poster is a beautiful thing, and I loved the drawn, kind of sketchy look of the white dog, almost kind of like
Mm.
a chalk look. What was like a conversation as far as that poster?
Honestly, um, there wasn't much conversation in that. I was surprised, because you have different distributors. You have one
Sure.
in America, and then you have one in Norway, and different territories.
Hmm.
Um, so I was actually kind of a little bit not skeptical, but if about like what the poster would be, if it would be too generic. But when I saw when they kind of like pitched and said like this is the poster that we're thinking of using as
Hmm.
the main poster, I was kind of surprised and like in a positive way, that they kind of went for something more, I guess you could say, abstract,
Yeah, absolutely.
at least compared to the other posters that I also like. But it's very different from those.
Hmm.
So it wasn't much conversation other than, "Are you okay with this poster?"
Sure.
And I
Right.
said, "Hell yeah, yeah." So
Yeah, no, it's
yeah,
awesome.
no, very
It's
happy
awesome.
with, that they decided to use that one. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I mean, and it's great too. I mean, it almost kind of gave me like a Wes Anderson film, like a type of feel, where I was like, oh, okay, this might have like a little bit of an artistic edge to it. And by God, it had a lot of edges, I'll say. No, does anything come to mind to you, with us being able to go to video shops or local theaters and a movie poster or a movie cover that really jumps out to you as far as something that you just wanted to check out, and if the cover was as good as the movie was?
That's a good question. I think, you know, I always remember, um, the Saw movies, when I was at gas stations and stuff. That those always kind of, because they're kind of, obviously you can't have like gore
Right.
in your poster, but those were really like, um, intriguing you know, in the look, and it, looked very creepy and,
Mhm.
scary. But also, I remember, in Norway, I'm not sure if you guys had this, but, there's the age limit, like the highest age limit is, 18 in Norway. But for the Hostel films, they did like a trick where they said that it was a 20-year age limit, uh, just to
Oh,
kind of
really?
say like this is, above like, the limit. So
Okay.
I remember seeing like the back of the DVD, kind of being intrigued, like, uh,
Wow.
being like, off-putting, but also, intriguing in a way.
Sure.
So those two kind of stand out, in that way.
Oh,
Yeah,
man, that's great. And especially with the whole like, that's kind of like a great press thing as far as,
mm,
sometimes that can bite you in the butt, but it can also be like, oh, this is so extreme. I don't even know if I can handle this. But then you have to,
yeah,
you and your buddies have to get it, and you got to see what's going on here on the
yeah,
inside of the tape. Yeah.
absolutely.
Does anything come in mind? And this isn't just necessarily horror, but as far as just within in film of you mentioned even earlier movies with Star Wars and things, but three scenes, something that just is forever ingrained in your brain. And maybe these are things that are extreme, maybe these are things that were just beautifully shot, or even how the hell did they do that? What comes to mind as far as three scenes in film that are just forever up there for you in memory?
That's a good question. I This is relatively recently, but, the Suspiria remake. There's a scene where,
Oh man.
with Tilda Swinton's, she plays several characters, but she
Mhm.
plays, the old man, and she goes and visits the hotel or whatever it is, and then, he suddenly, somebody runs up to him like screaming, like a jump scare, but then, the screaming just keeps on going, like the scream, like, you jump, but then like the screaming just keeps on going. And I remember getting like proper, chills. I never felt that kind of way. And that also has like a similar scene, not a similar scene, but also like a messed up scene with that, with the with the dancing scene, where her body being like,
Oh
um,
man, with
like
the
cracked
contorting.
and stuff. Yeah, contorting. Yeah, absolutely. So that's,
Oh,
guess that's kind of like a two in one. But also, we're doing a film called Above Knee, which is a little bit actually more body horror. So we, recently saw, 127 hours as kind of
mm,
like,
hmm,
inspiration. Which, that film is, not a horror film, but I think,
hmm.
the climax is, probably one of the more, messed up scenes. But maybe not as gory as many of those films, but like just the sound design, and, it's very immersive.
Hmm.
And then I think,
Hmm.
you Annihilation, that scene with the bear, when there's,
dude.
You haven't seen,
Uh,
yeah, oh, yeah,
Tell me about it. I
yeah,
have not stopped talking about that since I saw
yeah,
that. That is absolutely one of the things wholeheartedly fucking chilling.
yeah,
Wild.
absolutely. Mm.
I was honestly kind of like skeptical through some of that movie. I'm like, okay, where is this going? And then it starts,
Yeah,
we get kind of midway and then toward the end, but the bear scene is one of those things too. Um, Very intense,
absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah. And with
And
the
with
sound
127
design and
hours,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, both of those. Those are great choices. I love that too. And even sometimes I think it's funny where we go into a movie like 127 hours and feel like it's going to be some sort of like a drama or an actual event, and just as scary as any damn horror movie that you're going to pull
yeah,
up. You imagine yourself being in that scenario and what ends up happening. But so you had mentioned you have a movie called Above Knee. Is this something that you're working on right now?
yeah. So we just finished the post-production. It's about the guy who
Whoa.
has something called body integrity dysphoria, where he wants to amputate his left leg. He wants to become handicapped. So yeah, so we just pitched this at Cannes Film Market, something called Frontier by
Okay.
Showcase.
Hmm.
So we were,
Okay.
so we're looking at the fourth quarter film festival premiere, probably in the US somewhere, or yeah, we'll see. But then probably next year there'll probably be a yeah, it'll probably get released. So it'll be kind of like a spiritual
Whoa.
successor to Good Boy, in that it's kind of like about the subculture, psychological thriller type film. Yeah,
Damn. Man, that sounds insane. Wait, you said it was body dysphoria?
yeah.
What was it called? What's it called?
Body integrity dysphoria.
Body integrity dysphoria.
Yeah,
Holy man. Yeah, that's you have horror movies and you have thrillers and things that are, like the Jasons and Michael Myers, and then you have things that are actually existing in our everyday world that are just like insane sounding.
yeah.
That sounds crazy. Holy man! Now, is this something? I know you like working with Nikolai. He's been in many of your productions, if not all of them. Is
Yeah.
is he is he planning on being on this, or is he?
Uh, funny enough, he's actually not in the film, but
Okay.
he paints, he does art, and he made a lot of paintings for the film that's very integral to the film. So
Oh wow.
he's credited as paintings by Nikolai. So he has his DNA is in this film as well. So
You know,
he's been in all my films. Like
sure.
he was also associate producer, no executive producer on Good
Mhm.
Boy, also played in the film. So
Right.
he's
Right.
been, he's had his hands and had something to do with my films. Yeah, pretty much all of them, I think. Yeah.
Man, and now is he an old buddy? Is it somebody that maybe you'd met in school, or how did
Yeah.
that connection come as far as the two of you?
Yeah, no, so we both studied at this place called Nord University. He studied 3D and VFX, and I studied film and TV production. And then, we didn't
Mm.
have, a lot of actors, but he was always, interested in acting. I think that's what he really wanted to do. So yeah, so I just cast him in all my short films, and then we did a small film called To Freddy,
Hmm.
which was like our first like kind of bigger, more extensive collaboration. So yeah, he's always been a guy I loved working with.
Beautiful,
Mm,
beautiful. It's always nice. I mean, and it seems like from listening to other interviews too that the production here, while still small as far as cast and whatnot, very close and very
mm,
togetherness, and even in Good Boy, it seems like that was probably something pretty integral for some of the content that's coming out of
mm,
this and some of the almost abusive situations that are coming of. So it's always a
absolutely,
good
yeah.
thing to have comfort.
Absolutely, yeah. It's very important that that people feel safe in those kind of environments, because you are emulating those things to a certain extent. So it's important that you trust the people around you, especially the actors. Trust
Mhm.
me, and that you have a safe word and stuff like that,
Mhm.
because yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
you have to kind of do those stuff. not as intensely as perhaps how it looks, but at a certain point you have to emulate those things.
Yeah. And I think that's one of those things too with film that's always so interesting to see people out of character or seeing, I mean, as far as like Christian and seeing him, in this role, and then seeing, oh my God, a guard.
Yeah,
This
God,
first,
yeah,
okay, I don't want to mess it up. I apologize. But seeing him in interviews and like, oh, thank God, he's a regular good
yeah,
fella, Thank, thankfully,
yeah.
But seeing roles and seeing somebody who's pulling off these aspects of things are absolutely intense.
Mm,
And not to mention, I mean, Nikolai and Amelie, and I don't want to get hugely into spoilers just as far as
absolutely,
because
yeah,
I want to promote this and put this out, for those who haven't seen Good Boy. But there are a couple of moments in this movie that took me. I mean, literally watching. Specifically, one of the moments Frank looks up and I guess we'll say maybe
yeah,
speaks, and the initial time that you're seeing something other than this dog. And I don't know what it was, but I was very uneasy with just this like kind of shock of like, oh, okay, it's more than what we think is going on,
yeah,
and I think that's anybody that's watching this movie for sure.
yeah.
um, as far as you in filmmaking, like where did that initial inspiration come from, and then you going to film school?
Yeah. So, always want to do filmmaking. So when I think I was 10, I got for Christmas I got Final Cut Express and a camera. So we did me and my family did I think it was 5 or 6 installments of Girl Kills Zombies with beer cans, which was with my cousin in the leading role as she killed my uncles and aunts and my mom with beer cans. We did a lot of those. So that was
uh,
a lot of fun. So yes, so always no genre filmmaking always was kind of the thing I wanted to do. And then
okay.
I guess um, I did some YouTube stuff a little bit.
Mhm.
I did like gaming montages where I would put together other people's, highlights of,
Okay.
gaming highlights where I would put like effects on. So that's actually where I got before actually getting into film school, where I actually had most of my, editing software knowledge was through making gaming videos. And
Hmm.
then, yeah, then when it came time to study, I decided to do film school, and then never looked back, really. Then kind
Man.
of, because part of, we did Two Freddy as part of the Bachelor, and then we did Good Boy as part of our masters. So it kind of
Okay.
integrated in our, studying um, as well. These films, yeah.
Wow. Now, where, because I'd heard something in one of your interviews as far as the aspect of you going and having a day of shooting, and then as soon as you wrap, the day for shooting, you are huddled away and you're editing and you're cutting things. And I mean, was that something even with Till Freddy that just became part of your process, or I mean, how did that come to? That's a long ass day.
Yeah, no. So the thing with specifically with Good Boy was that we shot most of the scenes here. Actually, this is the cabin where they end up. So we actually lived here as well.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so when we were done filming for the day, we just you yell, yeah, it's a wrap for the day, and then we just put down the camera. We didn't even have to rig anything down. We just let things be, and then went and made dinner or went to bed or whatever. So it was, didn't have to spend much time wrapping. So then it was just
Okay.
running up to my PC, putting all the clips into the hard drive and just instantly editing. And my girlfriend was kind of annoyed because we lived the same room where we were sleeping was also where I was editing. So, at 2 or 3 at night, she wanted to sleep while I was sitting there editing. Um, But I guess, this was kind of, I guess, a good sign that I actually want to look at these clips after.
Sure.
And also, fun to, being able to see if what we had was any good, and also, show the rest of the crew, what actually what we were making was something that they enjoyed, and then I could actually get feedback, and in case we needed to reshoot anything or something like that. But I don't actually think we did reshoot anything. But
Oh, okay.
at least then we had like the chance to look over it and see if we had everything we needed.
Man. And now, I mean, along with editing, with directing, you also wrote this bad boy. And I mean, out of that respect, I remember hearing you kind of mentioned as far as, you having this idea of a man or a person in a dog costume, and just the existence. But where in that writing was it where you start realizing that this is becoming more of a horror and
Yeah,
a thriller as opposed to where this could have gone?
yeah. No, so it was relatively early on, but it wasn't like that obvious as one might think it was. I don't like writing unless, like, I like to think about it a lot before I actually start writing.
Mm,
I think most screenwriters can relate that it's the writing itself isn't that fun, but it's the imagining and
mm,
making up ideas. So I just remember I just always had this idea of, or for the longest time had this idea of somebody in a dog costume being owned by somebody else, and I just went through the plot as just normally, as like how the film was. So just like, okay, then this would happen, then this would happen, then this would happen, and then as we came to that point where like the twist happens, without giving too much away, then I kind of realized, okay, it would be what happened if there was like a twist. What if we just changed genres? So when I was first thinking about the film, it was actually at first kind of thought as like more of like a normal kind of bizarre comedy, romantic comedy kind of thing, and then kind of realizing, what happens if I kind of just suddenly this happens, and it all turns on its head. So yeah, it kind of just naturally became kind of obvious that it should become something more psychological and
okay.
thriller-esque. Yeah.
Beautiful. I mean, as far as day one of shooting, we have writing all in. You have, I mean, was there a lot of blocking involved as far as, you kind of putting out certain things, or, what was it as far as, when day one comes and you have, script and everything, how does that look?
So when we when I wrote the script, I actually when we cast the actors pretty early on, like 6 months before or 4 months before shooting. So we had a lot of meetings where we went through the script and also let them kind of write their own characters in a way, so that
Hmm.
all the action that they did made sense for them as actors. So they actually had a lot of inputs, all of the actors, into what would happen in the script, especially in relation to their own characters. So um, when we actually started shooting, we we kind of already we had spent so much time going through the script that we didn't really need to rehearse or block anything. Especially, since I was the camera operator and it was all handheld, we can just start shooting instantly, and then I would kind of just react as they did certain stuff. So yeah, not much rehearsing or blocking. And also, I wrote a lot of the script with the locations in mind, so I knew, like, they will go through this door and he'll get through here and stuff like that. And I did some test shoots before the actors came with some of my friends, actually, just to see like how it would look. So a lot of things were planned, and also not to block too much, just so the actors can just kind of just let some happy accidents as well happen, and then I would just react accordingly, as if I was, as if this was more of like a documentary. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Now you mentioned them kind of writing their own characters. Was this more of like how they would react as far as verbally, or was this kind of like a physical a thing, or because I find that interesting too, and that was something else that I was hearing, where it's like you giving that kind of free form to somebody, when in respect, I mean, it's all arts everywhere around, what from costume
yeah,
design to
yeah,
directing to cinematography. So giving them that kind of freedom, I felt like that's kind of something interesting to touch on.
yeah, absolutely. No, so so what we did, we let them. Um, I was gonna say no. So yeah, first of it was like the language. So like it
Okay.
fit with how they were talking. Because when I wrote the script, I kind of they made a little bit fun of me because I write in my own dialect a little bit, and there's some grammatically, there's some grammar that's wrong,
Okay.
and like that's how there's somebody who where I'm from would say those kind of things.
Okay.
But so then like when you get people from other places, from other regions, you have to change stuff. So I kind of let them, and I also told like we don't have to write it down like phonetically how you would say it. You can just remember the lines, kind of, just remember to like a certain extent what the lines are, and then just say naturally how you would say it.
Sure. Okay.
And then obviously, also with just character motivation, that kind of stuff, and also when it came to costumes, um, we kind of let them. They use their own clothes, so
Oh,
with
okay.
help from our costume designer, they kind of just took pictures of all the clothes, and then just kind of put together like outfits from stuff they already had. So
Okay.
so when they came to set, they kind of came packed with all their costumes, just to make things easier for us, I guess.
Sure.
It didn't make it
Sure.
easier for them, but
Yeah.
yeah. But it was,
Christian
yeah,
had to bust out all the suits then, I take it,
yeah,
and had to bring all this in. He's like, well, I was going to have this for church on Sunday, but I'll bring it here
exactly,
and
yeah,
get a little messy.
yeah, exactly, yeah,
Beautiful. Beautiful. No, I mean, obviously, one of the things that I love about this is the simplicity, but yet terrifying aspect of Frank.
mm,
We meet even in the trailer, a fella who has a dog who's someone in a dog costume. But as far as that costume, um, the mask wise, was that something, that was there ever other like options or other things that you were going with, or was that something that was solely made for this? And how, I guess how did that costume design come about?
yeah. No, so with the mask, that was, yeah, that wasn't always the plan. We did discuss a little bit if it should be more like Wilfred, where it's you can see the face of the actor the whole time, and then
Oh,
just
okay.
paint the face and stuff like that. But realized pretty early on that it was kind of important that we kind of had this distance from uh, from Frank and the other people, or other characters, as you could never see his face or how he was reacting to stuff,
Mm,
because the second you can see his face, then you can kind of see, is he happy, is he in discomfort, but we kind of want to take that away, so the characters and the audience are kind of forced to kind of just guess in how, or you have to take Christian's word for it on how
hmm
Frank is really feeling. And that's, I feel, also kind of how it is with real dogs. Obviously, they can emote as well, but they don't have the same range as humans do.
Right.
With the face, it's more physical, so it kind of forces Frank to be more like a dog. So that's and then then we found the mask, and I think that really helped it come together. And also, it was important that we didn't really use other dogs as a reference point. Like Frank is just supposed to be Frank; it's his own breed.
hmm
So it kind of had this like uncanny valley where like you can see that it's supposed resemble a dog, but it's very obvious that it's not the dog. It's always, yeah, you're always being reminded that it's a full-grown man
Yeah.
in the costume. Yeah,
I think, I mean, obviously, like it was great that, and how everything got pulled off, but the detail of the mask, I think, was a huge thing, especially for me, because like even as a little kid, I don't know if you're familiar with, have you ever heard of Chuck E. Cheese? It was
yeah,
like a pizza chain, at least in the States. But
yeah,
they had like the big animatronics, and they since have had Five Nights at Freddy's and all this, but even as a little kid with those masks or at Halloween time, there's always been a thing of somebody, standing far away and just waving, and it's like under that big old dome head of theirs,
yeah,
what is going on? That's always something that's been very unnerving.
exactly. Yeah,
And especially as I start digging into this story, I'm like, God dang it, where is this gonna go? Because I don't, this is, it's not gonna end well,
yeah,
but. But all of the performances, everybody, I mean, everybody that's involved in this is absolutely awesome, and I understand that Amelie was also involved in,
mm.
not only costume design, right? Or not costume design.
Uh, no, I think Amalia was maybe I'm remembering this wrong. I think she was only actress. Well, all the actors did help with the script writing,
Oh,
but
oh, okay,
okay, yeah,
okay, yeah. My mistake. I was thinking I was reading something else as far as like a design aspect of it, but um, either or. I
yeah,
mean, all the performances and everything that were involved. I mean, were absolutely insane, and Katrine, of course, as well.
mm,
Just adding this element of initially like a beautiful, kind of love story and cute, little whatnots, and of course we have friends that always are telling us it's not a good idea. We don't listen.
yeah,
How is this a thing in existence? But as far as let me think, within Frank, and as far as the portrayal there, and there's an aspect of food and fine dining that happens in this, and did the actors at any point get to eat any of this delicious looking food, or did it just plop in the mask and fall somewhere?
yeah. No, so that's we did have a lot of talk about that because it kind of doesn't make sense, the eating part, because when you chew, it's like the mouth is here of the dog. You don't really get any food in.
Mhm.
But I thought, also that kind of made sense for them. So no, they didn't. No food went in.
Okay.
I think we all shared the steak when it was when we were done shooting, or somebody ate the steak at least, but not like the dog didn't get anything in. But I thought that kind of made sense as for like the theatrics of what was happening, as they were putting up a show, and kind of like a hint at what's really going on
Mm.
with the dog. Um, so yeah, uh, not really practical with the mask. No.
Well, I mean, as far as viewer wise, and obviously, I mean, not fully digging into, but I think when I'm initially watching this, I think it kind of added to this whole element and this bigger, atmosphere of control as
Yeah.
far as, oh, wow, you have this steak and you have this beautiful cuts of, marinade and having, whatever, asparagus and things. And it's like, oh, you're getting to shovel this into this mass, but it's like if you can actually get it,
Yeah.
then sure, but otherwise, you're screwed, so to speak. And that
Exactly.
was like
Yeah.
a whole other, element of like, God damn, man, this sucks, dude.
Yeah.
This
Absolutely. Yeah.
not gonna be great. I mean, a couple, just really quick things, before we wrap here, and possibly, I don't want to full on get into any like spoiler or anything like that, but there is one sequence in particular, with just kind of a full on battle, so to speak, and a bag over the head, and it looks
Yeah.
very intense. What can you tell us about shooting that?
Yeah. No. So there's some because the film isn't that graphic, but there are some I guess abuse, you could say. Um, oh yeah, definitely abuse. But but yeah, I mean, there's a scene with somebody getting choked with the bag over the head, and that's real. Um, and I think it's obviously like an uncomfortable thing. I'm not gonna talk for the actors on how it was, but I think what's important, as I mentioned earlier, is that first of we had like a safe, like not a safe word, but we had like a thing where like if he tapped 2 times, then we had to pull the mask, like the bag off and
Mm,
stuff like that. So it's important. I think as an actor, they kind of wanted to push it a little bit,
mm,
but it's also important that it's done safely. Um,
sure.
so yeah, and, it's always going to be uncomfortable doing those scenes just with subject matter and all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's just important that before you have conversations and that you like those kind of stuff, we obviously rehearse before we do anything, or at least go through it step by step, so the actor knows what's going to happen and knows for how long, and knows that that they can always get out of the situation if something were to happen. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's very important that it's a safe space, even though it sometimes was kind of uncomfortable, just like the vibe at times, like the atmosphere
Hmm.
on some of those scenes, like not even like the violent scenes, but more like other scenes as well that were kind of heavy. It was kind of a bad vibe while filming in a way, but I think that was like a good sign, like while shooting. And then when we said cut, I mean, we didn't shoot for too long for each scene. We kind of made sure that we were kind of fast, at least for those
Okay.
heavier scenes, that we kind of didn't do too much coverage, and just, but more so, we're kind of fast with it. We just did this shot and this shot, and not too many takes and stuff like that, so that we could get
Mm-hmm.
out of the scene pretty early on, so we didn't have to stay in this bad atmosphere. Yeah,
And that's the thing too, is it's not necessarily like the sequence that I mentioned is one of the more violent
yeah,
scenes. I mean, as far as visually, but that's kind of the thing though too. I mean, as far as you have somebody and you have kind of an element of of control, in an aspect where there can be moments that are just as easy and uncomfortable and aren't necessarily anything to do with physicality,
absolutely,
but you're
yeah,
just watching kind of the downfall and the breaking down of someone, in a sense over this course of time. And even, in the hour and a half that we have with the characters, you're just like, oh no, why do we have to go here? Don't do
yeah,
that, just get, but I mean, and these are all great things for somebody, alluding and being a fan of movies, is being able to kind of be entrapped in this environment and in this world for this amount of time. Um, and like I said before, I mean, congrats, because it knocked me on my ass.
thank you so much, really appreciate it. Yeah,
I mean, as far as within the final sequence, and once again, I don't want to do spoilers, because I want to be able to promote this and have people dig into and just dive right on in. But um, clearly, I mean, one of the moments of the movie that after going through this story and these characters and what all is going on, is just like one of those things where I'm like, why did it have to end like this?
yeah,
And then not in a Stephen King manner, because sometimes you have an ending and it's like, oh well, they just pushed it. This is a full wraparound, but it's not a fulfilling moment by any means.
yeah,
is Yeah, does anything come to mind for you, being a fan of film, and and just mentioning, as far as anything that you get through the whole story and you get to the finale and just you're like completely gutted, and I ask this because this is how I felt with Good Boy.
yeah. No, I appreciate that. I remember we did our last what's it called, like read through of the script, like right before we're gonna start shooting, and when we read the ending and stuff, we were kind of like, okay, yeah, we're doing this.
Ugh.
We're like a little bit, but um, um, no. So one of my more earlier memories of watching films, I remember I went down and I saw my dad was watching. I didn't know what film this was, but I only saw the ending. But it was a film called The Secret in Their Eyes, Argentinian film.
Oh,
I
okay.
think it won best foreign language. I think it's
Oh, wow.
15 years old or 20 years old now.
Okay.
But that one has, you should watch that because it has one of the most kind of similar ending to Good Boy, but like gut wrenching. Like
Oh,
it really goes there type and it was one of the first times seeing like those type of endings, and I remember it kind of awakened something in me. I wanted more of that kind of stuff, and
man.
funny games is like just
Oh, man.
in the attitude of the way that film is made, like very much inspired by funny games.
Hmm.
So I think those two, and you mentioned Stephen King. I actually never saw the film, but I remember because I was quite young when it came. I think I was 10 years, but I remember my cousin had came from the cinema, had watched The Mist, and I remember him
Man.
retelling the film, and I remember him, and I was only 10 years old, and I remember him retelling like the ending of the film.
Hmm.
And I remember thinking he was lying because I didn't believe that like a film existed that it was like that dark. I thought he was just making it up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so and then that was actually one of the inspirations for Good Boy. Like, of course, you want to make a film that's entertaining um, while you're watching it, but also wanted to make a film where like you can't really believe that the film exists. You want the audience to be like, I want to retell the film to somebody else as if it happened to themselves, right? Like they can't believe what they saw, so they need to talk with somebody else.
Yeah.
And I remember, so I always, that kind of thing with the Mist, where like it was just fun hearing somebody retell the film and especially the ending. It's kind of
Not
something I
believing
want to
it.
do. Yeah, exactly. I want to somebody like the same thing with the Good Boy in a way. And there's been some kind of that with like TikTok. I saw like a TikTok of somebody just retelling the whole film, which got quite a lot of traction on TikTok. So I think like
Oh,
so
okay.
that I think is a good way of engaging people to get them to talk about it,
Hmm.
especially with the age of internet and Reddit and YouTube and all that kind of stuff, and Instagram as well. Where you kind of want people to talk about the films after you've seen it.
Right. And I mean, it's honestly a huge privilege and an honor. I mean, as far as even being able to have these opportunities and being able to dig in a little bit more into seeing things that I enjoy and be able to reach out and have time like this. So I mean, once again, thank you for that. Because I am absolutely excited for this. I can't find Till Freddy yet. I've still been trying to dig into that, and I was
Yeah,
going to watch it prior to this, but just as far as to see what else that is going on in the brain of yours, because there's some good stuff, man, and I'm really excited for now. You say above knee,
about me.
which
Yeah, yeah.
is sounds certainly appealing as well. So I greatly look forward to that.
Thank you so much.
One last thing, as far as just a fun little finale here. Earlier on, we had talked about Suspiria, and we're in a day and age where a lot of horror movies like to be remade, and it's movies like Halloween and all the obvious things. If you had the opportunity to remake something that maybe you thought was a good idea, but just wasn't quite pulled off, you have anything in mind that if somebody had approached you, you'd be excited to take on?
It's actually very funny you mentioned that. I was actually talking. I just saw for the 100th time, but The Room. I saw that on Sunday.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
okay.
coming by. So I think it would be funny to remake that film. Like just like don't do anything funny about it. Just see what happens if you kind of take because I think somewhere there is like a fun story or like an exciting story about like he's cheating and it gets kind of melodramatic. But I think um, I think it would be funny if you did like a thriller version where you kind of just did it straight and just like did not make a joke about it. But I think like that would be funny in itself.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, if I had to do a remake, actually it would be The Room, just like an as a experiment.
Okay, that's awesome. That's a great answer. I love that. And that original movie is so ridiculous, and there's
Yeah,
so many elements to that where You can see it, potentially taking that turn. So,
Absolutely, yeah.
oh my God, Viljar, this has been absolutely so awesome. Once again, thank you so much. I will have to reach out again as far as whenever Above Knee is coming out and see about
Absolutely.
possibly talking with that and maybe some cast and digging into that. So this has been great. It's been so much fun, and I appreciate the time, sir. Thank you so much once again.
Yeah, no problem. It's been I had a great time talking with you.
Awesome. I will have this saved within like the next month or so. I'm just starting to get kind of schedules got a little crazy, but I'm just starting to get YouTube videos posted up to YouTube. So this will be edited and look a little bit
Yeah,
more aesthetically pleasing as opposed to the vertical thing. But I'll have this up on YouTube and promote it and everything like that, and it'll be available for anybody who jumped in a little bit late. So yeah, that's our time. Thank you so much once again, Viljar. You take care. Enjoy the day.
yeah, you too.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.
Vertical.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi, lo-fi, a horror guy. Yeah. Lo-fi horror guy has been recorded in front of a live studio audience.